Welcome to the Marriage Puzzle Podcast with Juli and Thomas Hobby. We are marriage coaches who help couples with pain points about money, intimacy, and communication go from being overwhelmed to being secure in their marriage.
If this is your first time listening to us, thanks for checking out our podcast. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a rating and a review. Let's dive into this episode.
Hi everyone, we're back for the last chapter of the book that we've been going through called From This Day Forward by Craig and Amy Groeschel. And if you haven't gotten your copy yet, make sure you go check it out, marriagepuzzle.com/books. We have a direct link there for you to read and learn from all these topics, but the last one is called Never Give Up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the big overarching themes of this chapter was that marriage is a covenant, and you are, when you give your vows, you talk about, anybody who's seen a wedding has seen, or a movie about a wedding has seen the typical vows of, for better, for worse, richer or poorer, things like that. And you're not just saying like, oh, I'll stay married to you as long as we're rich, and I'll stay married to you as long as we're both healthy and, look good and, things like that. And it's actually a covenant, basically saying unconditionally, this is how, I choose to stay married. He even talks about the fact that there are some conditions biblically that allow divorce, like adultery. And, he even recommends in the book, if that happens in your marriage, to really make an attempt to reconcile, to truly still try to maintain unconditional love, and rebuild from that and set the boundaries up to prevent anything from happening again, because you did make these vows to stay married unconditionally versus just having a contract, which can easily be broken. And a contract is designed for two people or two businesses or whatever to protect themselves from each other from a certain amount of risk, but also assume a certain amount of risk that they're comfortable with, and then if someone breaks one of the rules of the agreement, then the agreement itself can be broken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think though with the title being called From This Day Forward, you think of that maybe as your wedding day.
Right.
Probably might be in your vows and from this day forward, I'll love you and do this. It's like, but that could be today, from this day forward. So if there is broken trust or even just, change needs to happen or we can get better from this day forward, that's a very impactful statement. Mm-hmm. And you can make that choice. And you should, I would say, make that choice every single day from this day forward.
Yeah.
We're going to move. We're never going to give up.
Right. Yeah. And there's the daily commitment of that, saying from this day forward, each day, regardless of, even in the good times. And then when there's really major things that happen or broken trust or anything like that, then choosing to rebuild that. So choosing to stay committed mm-hmm. during those times.
Mm-hmm. And part of that's going to be never giving up during the hard times.
Right.
Like it's going to get hard. Life is hard, and that could look like financial hardships, maybe a sickness, because you said health, mm-hmm. Relocation, kids for sure. My goodness, how much has that changed our relationship, our marriage? Yes, it's our family. We wanted kids. We waited a few years after being married to have kids because we knew it was going to change. But and they're a blessing. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. But having 4 kids has also we had to never give up on our marriage through the hard times, because 4 kids may not sound like a lot. We have some unique I don't know. Anyone who has 6 kids.
Anyone who has 1 thinks we're crazy for 4.
Okay.
There are certain levels of that in which you think the person who has more than you is a little bit more crazy than you are.
Yeah, I think just like uniqueness on out of the 4 of ours, 2 of them have ADHD. Mm-hmm. One of them, a different one, has a lot of developmental delays and things that we've kind of shared more of his story on here, because he was born so early, and medical needs and things as a 2-year-old. But with even then, having twins, the twins are 10 and one is neurodivergent and one's not. It's like neurotypical. It's like just different nuances. And my point here is there are days that it is so chaotic and the emotions are high with the kids and then with me because of it, that I have looked at you and said, like, please don't give up on this. Please don't give up on this family. Please don't give up on me. And just, I'm having my own meltdown and I'm like saying that. And it's like, that's what this chapter is: never give up, even in the hard times. And you've just embraced that and responded with, like, I haven't even thought about that. Here I am, like, this is crazy. You could walk out the door right now. Please don't leave. Yeah. And it's just, you've luckily made the choice.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, I have made that choice. Kind of a funny way to think about it, though, is if I were to do that, then that takes it from 4-on-2 to 4-on-1, and there are going to be times where it's 4-on-1 with me, like, without having any backup. And so, that's not the central point around it. But yeah, I mean, we've chosen to be together. We chose to have kids together. We chose to have this many kids together. Technically, we didn't choose to have twins. That was a fluke. But, we chose to keep going after twins. And so, yeah, I mean, that's just part of it. It's tough times. It's always tough times. We're always outnumbered 4-2. There's very rarely a moment of silence for either of us individually, where we can just be alone with our thoughts. And so, phone conversations get constantly interrupted between the two of us. And, but we try and take advantage of every moment that we can to stay engaged with each other and committed with each other and on the same page with one another.
And never give up.
Right.
I think, like, obviously it's a parenting example of we're in this together. We're never going to give up. The same mindset needs to be there. Financial hardships, job change, a relocation, a sickness. Like I said, we've had our share of hospitalizations for the kids and all that. But, well, even me, I was on bed rest away from you before all that. But, severe sickness and things like that can just start putting thoughts in your head. And this is like, no, from this day forward, we're never going to give up. We are in this together, no matter what, what hardship we're going to go through.
Yeah. And, there are certain times in your marriage where you have to realize, like, you may need more help than that. And that can come in a lot of different ways. That can come in, ways of, like, a support group, having a group of friends that you can do life with. We've talked about that. We've shouted out our group of friends before that, we get the privilege to do life with, and, just have someone to, like, share the stories with, the hard days with, that's, can understand, can relate, and can share some stories back, so we feel like we're not all alone in the walk of this. But it can look like that. It can look like I think in one of the past couple of episodes we talked about how I say you, but how each individual was, like, raised in the household that they were raised in, and what kind of baggage that brings into a marriage. And that could look like getting an outside help could look like the form of counseling and trying to heal and repair some of that baggage you brought into the marriage, to get you to a point where you can move forward. And then some of that can look like coaching. And that can look, we do marriage coaching, and, we've explained before that, the way we view the difference between counseling and coaching is counseling can take you and heal past wounds to get you to the point of where you're at and coaching kind of picks up from there and moves forward.
From this day forward.
From this day forward. And that, you're working to improve your marriage. Now, you can probably do those both at the same time. You don't have to do one and then the other.
Right.
There may be some instances where that's the case, where it's like something is just too wounded to be able to move forward from at this point. And so, that in certain situations you may be advised one way or another, but sometimes you just need someone to help you kind of figure out how to take those steps forward, how to improve your marriage in certain areas, and we can definitely help with that.
And I think the final takeaway from this chapter is even what you can get through marriage coaching with us too, is kind of leaving that legacy for your marriage. So defining what do you want that to look like, and then sticking to it and never giving up. And I love that word, legacy. I think that's something to like live for and be passionate about. So, when marriage is like boring, been there, done that, been married for decades, like, what's the legacy of your marriage? When you say that, that inspires me to think about this relationship differently. Think about even like what made it start, and then what legacy, not just like when I die and what legacy did I leave for my kids, but just the legacy, the impact that you're making even to those around you, and inspiring, because just like we're reading this book and looking up to Craig and Amy Groeschel, is your marriage something that not just your kids, but are other people looking up to and being inspired by? Are you still passionate about that, to fight through all these things, to never give up? And that's something too. I love helping couples just like work through that. So like you said, starting with the family map, with the where did you come from? What are your strength areas? What are your growth areas, we call them, that we can help? And what is your marriage legacy? What does it look like, and what can it be?
Well, legacy is long-lasting and far-reaching. And so, your legacy, you're going to want it. Let's put it this way. Your legacy will outlive you. How is it going to outlive you? Is it going to outlive you in a good way where, your kids, your family, people who you were around were like, man, they had a great marriage. I wish we could make our marriage like that. And not from a like keeping up with the Joneses kind of standpoint, but a like, wow, they were really truly in love. They showed it. You could tell, like it was just evident. Or is it going to be like, wow, they hated each other. They truly did just stay together for the kids. They should not have been together. They just didn't talk to each other. How did their marriage survive? And, your legacy is going to outlive you one way or another. And how do you want it to be represented? So it's long lasting and it's far reaching. And so, I think that a far reaching legacy means like there are going to be stories told 2 or 3 times down the line from to someone else about you. And not that it's about like celebrity status or anything like that, but if we have a friend who has a friend that is going through a struggle, and they can say, oh, I have this friend that this is how they handled a similar struggle. Cool, they work on it on their own, even if like they didn't come get sent to us for marriage coaching, but they work on it on their own. They fight through because they heard that story. Then that person hears about a friend who's having a similar struggle, and then they can kind of pass that on. Even if it loses track of the origin, it's still far reaching. And so I think that those are really good points to keep in mind when you're thinking about your marriage. What's the lasting legacy? What's the distance that your legacy is going to reach, and how do you want it to reach?
Yeah. Good. So if you're still on the fence about marriage coaching and what does that look like, we offer a free discovery call. So you're not making that big commitment yet or anything. Like, get on a video call with us to get to know us, let us get to know you, and we'll talk through that and what that looks like for marriage coaching for you and your spouse.
Yeah, and there's two things to think about with marriage coaching. One, you could be in a rough spot and you're trying to get in a good spot. And you're going to need the courage to talk to your spouse and say, hey, I'd like to try something like this to try and improve. You could also be in a good spot and you're trying to get to a better spot to elevate. That's okay too. That's still going to take some courage, because your spouse, maybe you approach your spouse with that, they may be like, well, I feel like we're doing fine. What are you nervous about? And so you have to approach each of those situations with tact. You have to be on the same page with your spouse, because one person can't make the marriage better. And it takes both of you being fully committed from this day forward, from each day, to be able to do that. So, we said this also in a recent episode, like, you have to choose your hard. Are you going to choose to have the hard conversation with your spouse and say, I want to make our marriage better, whether it's bad to good or good to better. I want to make our marriage better. I would like you to be a part of that. I'd like to reach out and talk about this. Are you going to choose the hard conversation of that? Or are you going to choose the hard conversation later when you're saying, I don't think this is working? And we don't want that for you. If it's really just about a phone call, just about a Zoom call, just schedule it. I mean, there's no, like you said, there's like no commitment. It's just about getting on the phone and seeing if there's a place for you to get some help. But there's those other ways too. Find a group of friends. Get into find a hobby together, do something, like find some other people that you can be around as well, find community to help you with that. But there's also that professional help you can get too. So thanks for checking us out. Make sure you follow us on social media and on YouTube at Marriage Puzzle, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
See ya.